Picture this. It's Friday night. You're scrolling through your banking app and staring at the same old balance. Maybe $1,200 or $800 if it's been a rough month with car repairs or an unexpected vet bill. The bills are paid, sure, but there's no cushion, no just-in-case money quietly sitting there to help you breathe easier. You catch yourself thinking, if I could just get a little ahead, maybe I could relax, maybe even buy that concert ticket without the guilt. That's a place most of us have been at some point. Every paycheck feels spent before it arrives, and you're always one emergency away from that sinking feeling in your gut.
My name is Elliott, and I spend way too much time obsessing over money and how it messes with our brains. I'm fascinated by why some people hit an invisible tipping point where everything suddenly shifts, while others grind for years, feeling stuck on a treadmill. I've lived both sides of that reality, especially back when I was juggling 2 side gigs just to cover rent in a city that chewed up dreamers like me. Those years taught me how exhausting it feels to work non-stop without ever feeling ahead. Today, I want to talk about something that's honestly a game changer: your first $25,000. Yes, that exact number, $25K saved, invested, or however you want to define it. It matters because it quietly changes everything, not in a flashy way, but in the moment when money stops owning you and you start calling the shots.
Think about it. Before that first $25,000, money feels like a tyrant, dictating nearly every move you make. You say yes to a crappy job because quitting would mean living on ramen noodles. You skip the gym membership or the weekend getaway because saving feels like a joke when your account barely shows 3 digits. But once you hit $25K, it's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, you have options, real ones. Not the maybe if I skip coffee for a year kind, but the quiet confidence of knowing you can handle things. And the wild part is that it's not really about the money, but the psychological proof that you can do hard things and aren't trapped in the same broke cycle forever. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine your finances like a rickety old bicycle. Up to that first 10K or so, you're pedaling uphill, sweating bullets, with the chain slipping every few feet. It's exhausting, and one wrong turn, a flat tire, like a medical bill, can leave you walking home defeated. But at $25K, everything changes, like upgrading to a sleek road bike with gears that make hills feel easy. You start picking up speed, feeling momentum and freedom instead of constant strain. That first chunk of real savings rewires your brain from scarcity to abundance, because once you have something worth protecting, it tends to grow. But why $25K specifically? Why not $10K or $50K? Stick with me, because we're diving deep into the science, the stories, and the step-by-step path to getting there. I've talked to hundreds of people who've crossed this threshold: entrepreneurs, teachers, and gig workers, and they all say the same thing. Life before and after $25K feels like night and day. By the end of this video, you'll see why it acts like an unlock code for wealth building and feel tempted to pause and check your own numbers. Okay, first off, let's talk about why that first $25,000 feels like crossing the Rubicon, that ancient river marking a point of no return. Before it, you're stuck in survival mode. Every dollar becomes a soldier in the war against overdraft fees and maxed-out credit cards. You're reactive, constantly putting out fires instead of planning ahead. It leads to brutal questions like, do I pay the electric bill or buy groceries? Those kinds of choices are exhausting and honestly terrifying. But once you stack up $25K, psychology kicks in hard. It becomes what experts like Ramit Sethi call a financial runway, a buffer that covers 3 to 6 months of expenses and finally lets you sleep without one eye open. Here's a quick aside. Remember my buddy Jake? We won't use his full name, privacy and all. Jake was a barista making $15 an hour, living paycheck to paycheck and dreaming of starting a small online store. After 2 years of brutal budgeting, no eating out, and selling old video games on eBay,
he finally hit 25K. The day he saw that number, he quit his second job. Not because he was rich, but because fear finally loosened its grip. He launched the store, and now it's pulling 6 figures, proving it's not magic, it's momentum.
Science backs this up. Behavioral economists talk about loss aversion, meaning we hate losing money about twice as much as we enjoy gaining it. That first 25K acts like a shield against that fear. Research shows that people with even modest emergency funds make smarter long-term decisions. They invest more confidently, negotiate salaries harder, and stop panicking at every setback. They're also more willing to walk away from toxic situations, financial or otherwise, because they have backup. So ask yourself this: how many times have you stayed in a soul-sucking job just because you needed the money right now? And how different would that feel with 25K in the bank? And let's get real about the math, because numbers don't lie, even if they sting at first. Suppose your essential monthly expenses, rent, food, transportation, and minimum debt payments come out to $4,000. That's pretty average for a single person in a mid-sized US city. At that level, 25K covers a little over 6 months of living expenses. Boom! No more robbing Peter to pay Paul just to stay afloat. But it's not only about survival. That same pool of money lets you handle job loss calmly, jump on a good investment, or cover a family emergency without blowing up your entire life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Elliott, easy for you to say, I'm drowning in student loans or childcare costs. That's a fair point, because life isn't fair. But here's the truth bomb. Everyone starts somewhere messy. I did too, back in my early 20s, when I was sitting on $8K in credit card debt from a dumb road trip phase. Hitting 25K took me about 18 months of laser-focused effort. It wasn't glamorous, but it changed how I saw money. Before, my wallet felt like a black hole sucking in cash, and after, it became a Swiss Army knife, useful, flexible, and ready for anything. All right, let's nerd out for a moment, because understanding the why makes the how actually stick. Your brain is wired for scarcity, an evolutionary holdover from caveman days where hoarding berries meant survival. In modern life, zero savings translates into constant low-grade stress. Cortisol levels stay elevated, and decision-making starts to fall apart. Studies out of places like Harvard show that financial stress can cause IQ drops comparable to missing an entire night of sleep. Pretty brutal, right? That first 25K is the antidote. Neuroscientists describe it as crossing a financial security threshold, where your brain finally relaxes. Once you hit it, dopamine kicks in, and you start feeling capable and confident again. It's like leveling up in a video game. Side quest complete, don't die broke. Now you're in the main storyline of wealth acceleration, not just survival. And you notice it too. Money stops feeling taboo, and instead of whispering about it, you start treating abundance as normal. Metaphor time. Think of your money mindset as a muscle. With no savings, it's atrophied and weak. At 25K, you finally pumped iron and built real strength. Now you can lift heavier weights, bigger goals, and smarter, riskier plays. Therapists say clients who cross this line report less anxiety and healthier relationships. Money fights fade as "we can't afford date night" turns into "what adventure should we plan next?" But wait, it's not just mental. Socially, it elevates you too. Friends invite you on group trips, and you can say yes without guilt. Networking events stop feeling like luxuries and start feeling normal. Opportunities begin to compound, especially once investing enters the picture. With 25K, you can diversify and let compound interest wake up, turning that base into real momentum over time. Without it, every setback knocks you back to zero, and you're forced to start from scratch again. Let me share a couple of real stories to make this tangible. First is Sarah, a nurse I met at a finance workshop. She was a single mom with 2 kids, making $50K a year, buried in debt and barely getting by. She tracked every dollar with a budgeting app, cut cable, meal prepped relentlessly, and drove Uber on weekends. 14 months later, she hit 25K. After that, she refinanced her car,
opened a Roth IRA, stopped stressing, and told me it felt like she'd grown a pair of financial wings. Then there's Mike, a burned-out corporate drone in tech who felt completely trapped. He hit 25K through aggressive 401k matching and strict no-spend challenges. He quit to join a startup, which failed spectacularly, but his financial runway gave him time to pivot. Now he's a VP at a better firm, earning nearly double, and he told me that buffer was his superpower. These aren't outliers. Federal Reserve data shows households with 25K or more in liquid assets grow their net worth about 3 times faster over a decade, and that's no coincidence. Ever wonder why so many lottery winners go broke? They skip the foundation and jump straight to Lambos without building the 25K mindset first. Quick aside, I once blew 2K on a sure thing stock tip from a buddy and lost it all. That was pre-25K me, and now I research investments like a detective before making a move. Enough inspiration, let's get tactical and talk about the roadmap. If you want the blueprint, it starts with auditing your cash flow by tracking every expense for 30 days. Tools like budgeting apps make it painfully clear how small leaks like $5 lattes turning into $150 a month add up fast. The brutal truth is to cut the fat, not the joy, by eliminating forgotten subscriptions and impulse buys instead of the things you actually love.
Step 2 is boosting your income. Side hustles are powerful. Driving DoorDash, freelancing on Upwork, or selling crafts on Etsy can realistically add $500 to $1,000 a month. I personally tutored math online, hated the algebra, but loved the extra cash. On top of that, negotiate your salary at work, because data shows simply asking can raise pay by 5 to 10%, especially if you anchor it to clear results. Step 3 is deploying the snowball, Dave Ramsey style, with a smart tweak. Pay the minimum on all debts while aggressively attacking the highest interest balance first. For example, if you have $20K in student loans at 6% and a $1K credit card at 20%, you nuke the card first. That move frees up cash flow fast and saves you hundreds in interest. Use a modified 50-30-20 budget to move faster. Keep needs at 50%. Cut wants down to 10%, and push 40% towards savings and debt, so you're living on 70% and banking the rest. Automate transfers into a high-yield savings account and let it grow quietly in the background without overthinking it.
Milestones keep you sane along the way. Celebrate small wins smartly. 1K with a $20 steak, 5K with new headphones, 10K with a budget weekend getaway, and 25K with a well-earned but sensible celebration. Visual tools help too, like a spreadsheet progress bar or a Kickstarter-style thermometer chart that makes the momentum feel real. The biggest pitfall is lifestyle creep. When your salary goes up, don't upgrade your life. Funnel the difference straight toward the goal. For impulse control, use the 48-hour rule on any purchase over $100 and sleep on it before deciding. And don't skip mindset hacks. Even simple affirmations like, "I am a saver," plus books like I Will Teach You to Be Rich and The Psychology of Money can genuinely rewire how you think about cash. For families, tag team the goal together. My sister and her husband did no spend weeks with grocery staples only and hit 25K in just 10 months while teaching their kids the value of money. If you're single, getting roommates can cut rent by 30 to 50%, so creativity really pays off. A realistic but aggressive timeline is 12 to 24 months. If you can build a $2,000 monthly surplus, you'll hit 25K in about a year. Track progress weekly, adjust as needed, and if you stall, audit everything again.
Once you cross 25K, momentum accelerates fast. Now you invest, low-fee index funds or an S&P 500 ETF, where 25K at a modest 7% can grow to 50K in about 10 years and 100K in roughly 15. Add just $500 a month on top of that, and the math snowballs into serious money by retirement. Your mindset evolves, and you start chasing freedom instead of stuff. Entrepreneurship feels safer, travel becomes guilt-free, and giving back actually feels good. Relationships improve too, because money resentment quietly disappears. But here's the digression. Money isn't everything. Hitting 25K matters, but health and real connections matter too, a lesson I learned the hard way after burnout. Challenges like inflation and recessions will come, So build strong habits now, stay diversified, and remember that long-term thinking still wins even in volatile markets. So why 25K? Because it's the pivot from broke to builder, a psychological fortress and an opportunity magnet. You've got the map, so start today, even if it's just $100 into savings, because momentum compounds fast. What's your number? Are you on the way to 25K, or have you already crossed it? Drop a comment, share your story, subscribe for what's next on the road to 100K, and go crush it.